Hi YouTube. I'm going to start a new series because I'm interested in the thought process of the chess player, and I created a panel from players ranging from 1350 to 2250 FIDE rating, and I'm going to show them a number of positions and ask their opinions about that. And I don't want heavy analysis of these players, otherwise they will all come to the same conclusion, I think. I want their quick thoughts on the position and see how they differ, because I think I think we will see that the stronger player is very quick at identifying the correct plan and having an idea what to do in a certain position. The first position I was going to show them is from a game between Botvinnik and Capablanca. It starts off with an Imzo-Indian, a Rubinstein variation, where Capablanca plays d5. Botvinnik puts the question to the bishop and Capablanca exchanges it. Plays c5. Botvinnik gets rid of the doubled pawn by playing c takes d. Bishop d3. Short castle by black. Knight e2. b6. Short castle by white. Bishop a6 to get rid of the active white scared bishop. The bishops go off. And bishop b2. Bishop b2 is not the position I showed him, but it's a move you have to think about. What is the bishop doing there? Anyway, Capablanca continued with queen d7. A4, rook e8, queen d3 to provoke c4, and queen c2. This is the position I gave him. And I said, well, what is the purpose of a4 in this position? First of all, and devise a plan for white and black. So we start with the lowest rated player. And he said, well, a4, the only real purpose is that white doesn't really have anything else to do. His position is completely passive, so if by playing a4 he creates a square for the bishop, which is definitely true, the bishop would be much better on a3. Furthermore, the position is completely closed, and white's pieces are, most of them are on the queen side. So he should not think about playing on the king side. He should play on the queen side. That's where his pieces are. So the idea for white, according to this player, would be to play a5, exchange off this pawn, then lift this rook and put the other rook behind, and then try and dominate the a file. Furthermore, he notes that a4 also weakens the c4 pawn, because if you eliminate the d pawn, then this pawn might be weak because you cannot play b5. Now we come to myself. I'm quickly going to show the position again. Yes. So first of all, why a4? I was really confused about this, because if you think about it, white played bishop b2 in this position. And I was like, what is this? I mean, he plays bishop b2 here. Oh. Bishop b2. Then later on plays a4. And then he would play bishop a3 anyway. So Botvinnik just lost the tempo. Capablanca must be better. Okay. It's not so easy. Remove the arrows. Because I found out in an online YouTube video that you have to take one nuance into consideration here, and that is that black hasn't played c4 yet. He can still exchange on d4, and then actually the bishop on b2 is supporting d4, and that makes e3 that allows e3 to play to e4, because this pawn on d4 is well supported. So there was actually more to it than I first thought. But let's go back to the position. Here, oh no, it's here. I did correctly, or almost correctly, identify that, okay, white's plan should be to play knight g3, rook a to e1 to support this pawn, and then f3 and e4. And I had the idea, like, okay, if black would take, then I can take back with the f-pawn, and have the perfect center and an open file. Also, the main reason I came to this plan was that we have a fixed pawn chain, and one thing I learned is that if you have a fixed pawn chain, you have to attack the base pawn, because, okay, then the weakness moves into your camp, so the c4 pawn might become weak. Okay, let's get rid of these arrows. So I was very confused about the b2 move, but bishop e2 move, but I had an idea of how to play on the king side. I had identified the correct plan for white. Then we arrive at our female player. Yeah, we have one female in our panel, rated around 1850 to 1900. Quite a strong player, and she was the first to see the a4 move as a way of restricting black. So a4 restricts black in the fact that it controls b5, so black cannot play b5 himself. And actually, by moving the pawn from a4 to a3 to a4, also the a4 square is covered. So queen can no longer come to a4 and infiltrate in white's position. Further on, she was the only player to really think about a plan for black. It was quite extraordinary. She quickly spotted that the b3 square is a weakness. It's a hole in white's position. So she tried to maneuver a knight in here. She took a little bit too many moves. I think it was like this. Yes. So okay, it's too slow by going this route. There's a quicker route, but okay, I didn't ask the players to really think. For very long, so she missed it. There's actually a quicker route, which Capablanca spotted, and that's via c, e8, c6, a5, and then go to b6. Alright. She didn't manage to come up with a real middle game plan because she couldn't make the king side pieces move. And also on the queen side, she could not really come up with a great move because she didn't like playing a5. She liked the pawn on a4, which is correct. Then we come to our next player, which is rated around 2000. And yeah, he also says the a4 move restricts black. It stops his counterplay. And by restricting black's plans, by stopping black's plans first, white's plans are more effective. So he says by stopping black's plans, the f3 e4 plan by white is much more effective. He also says eventually white may choose to play a4, a5, but, and that's also something curious that no one really thought about, I think, and that's, yes, he says if I play a5 now, black might as well play b5. So I think that's, for example, something the first player didn't think about, and yeah, then you're stuck here with your pawn, and I don't think you can be really happy about your position. Actually, black might be considering of playing b4 a bit later on and attacking the base of your chain. Okay. He was a bit confused about where to put the bishop. He said, well, should I put it here? Or should I put it here? Via this route. But Botvinnik actually didn't choose. He just waited and thought, well, I have options and I will choose if necessary. For now, the bishop is there, he's not in my way. Then you come to our strongest player. Yeah, one thing that really struck me was that he used the word flexibility. And I know this player, he uses the word flexibility a lot. And he said, first of all, a4 allows bishop a3. That's an option. Furthermore, you have the second option. So apart from this, you have the option of playing a4, a5. Not now. The pawn is very good on a4. It's restricting black's counterplay, so that's one of the other purposes of a4. It restricts black. Black has no real counterplay, so he will, just like the 2000 players say, he has no real plan, and he can only defend against white's plan of f3, e4. He actually plays the right order of moves: rook a to e1, knight g3, f3, e4. But okay, he doesn't believe in black's position, which is kind of curious, because if you plug the position in a computer, then actually Houdini thinks the position is completely equal. Houdini also spots the maneuver from the knight going to b3, but then the evaluation starts to change, because okay, in the far, if you calculate very deeply, Houdini starts to see that the f3, e4 plan is really strong. Something Capablanca clearly underestimated. But before I end this position, I should also tell what the annotator of this game wrote down. And I actually only wrote down one thing. It was Grandmaster John Nunn. And he said, well, a4, if you really think about it, a4 is a pawn sacrifice, because if black chooses to, the pawn will go off, because if the knight comes here, he blocks the queen from defending the a4 pawn, and he really doesn't want to keep the rook on this file. The rook doesn't want to come to a2, for example. So white's plan would logically be to move the rook to a1, e1, but in the meantime, Capablanca can win the pawn. And Capablanca thought that he could win the pawn and then safely defend the position. And I mean, if the pawn goes off, then suddenly the a pawn here is a passed pawn, so it might be really dangerous. So Capablanca's plan is not so weird after all. But we're going to go a little bit further in this position while I have time to look at the actual moves. And yes, you see, our female player was right. Knight b8 is the first move by Capablanca, and most of the other players were also correct with the kingside plan of rook a to e1. Capablanca followed with his plan of putting the knight on the b3 square. Also Botvinnik, clearly they even ignore each other and just focus on their own plans. Knight a5, f3, knight b3, e4, and now queen takes a4. Capablanca has won a pawn, so Botvinnik actually sacrificed the a4 pawn, but this allows him to play e5. And yes, now Capablanca comes under real pressure. He gets to play knight d7. Take into consideration that white has to be careful here because his queen is hanging, so there might be some tricks with the knight moving, and there's this nice knight maneuver here that he can jump back and threaten the queen exchange, and Capablanca is a pawn up, so Botvinnik would not like this. But this would allow the knight to come to this incredibly strong square on e3. So Botvinnik doesn't make any mistakes, so immediately moves the queen to f2, where it wants to be, because he has a majority here, and these pawns want to go forward. And Capablanca has to start thinking about defending, And this is where we end. We'll go further in the next video.